workforce which will be made available to industry. On one hand, it will cater to the programs which are basically for research. On the other side, it should also be able to cater to the programs, the short-term programs for other workforce in the manufacturing quality, as well as it should cater to the upskilling requirement of industry. We are having the series of webinars. It is the second webinar in the series, and these webinars will be focused on the segment, the product section products in the medical device. To start with so you all know the Department of Pharmaceuticals has a mandate of medical device sector, and through 4 flagship initiatives, Department of Pharma is moving forward to ensure a sustainable ecosystem for industry, to ensure that we reach 2030 vision of $50 million, economy. Now, the scheme for human resource development becomes one of the very critical parameter for this success, because even if their infrastructure, even if their employers, without the workforce, the human resources, it will not move forward. And that is why the scheme of human resource development has been launched. There was a wonderful workshop yesterday where we had a series of engagements with academia and industry together, and then we did it. We have some of the people from industry, Mr. Mayank Rohtagi from LD Medtech. He will be the moderator for the session once I hand over the reign of the entire session to him. And this entire thing will be for the mentoring of the various academic institutions. Neha, can you just go to next? Yeah, next one. Yeah. So very quickly, I'll just run down. You all know the scheme, so I'll quickly run down. The purpose is to provide skilled workforce to industry. Purpose is to bridge the industry's academia gap. And purpose is to develop R&D ecosystem for medical devices. 2 kinds of program. Neha, can you just move next? Focus remains on research, component manufacturing, final product manufacturing, assembly, and testing. There would be some training for the clinical establishment technicians also, but only for non-paramedics, not the paramedics, because that is being taken care by the Healthcare Council and Ministry of Health and Allied Professional Council by Ministry of Health. Moving to next. Next. As I said, 2 components of the scheme. One for MSc, MTech, PG diploma program that should cater to, and in the first webinar we heard from industry that MSc, MTech should cater to the requirement of research and the high-end manufacturing and all, while PG diploma should be able to utilize for upskilling or training the engineers, the BTech grads for the industry, both for quality, manufacturing, and research. Component B would be talking about running some of the short-term diploma certificate program for technicians, managers, and regulators. Neha, can you make next? Very clearly, 137 institutions will be participating for component A. And for component B, can you just go to next? And component B will be other people as well. For PG program, it is important for industry to note that for PG program, by the scheme guideline, we have mandated 6 mandatory modules to be part of the curriculum. These 6 mandatory modules, out of them, 2 are the must for all the programs, which are regulatory and quality compliance in medical devices and foundation of human biology. While remaining 4 to be taken from the group of 6 subjects were listed here: mathematical modeling, materials and biomedical sciences, biosensors, bioelectrics, electronics, design aspect of medical device, IoT, machine learning, cell and molecular biology, and bioinformatics. But it is important that what we are talking, whether it is making sense. So industry experts, please note to guide in education institutions that which one they should add, and if there are anything missing, probably they can always add on it. Next. There is a suggested list of focus areas. We will come back on it as Mayank will lead the entire forum for component A. So probably we'll move next. As stated, component B would always be driven from the skill gap. And it is industry who will probably guide us whether diploma is right, certificate is right, upskilling program and the short-term training, what kind of things can be. These certainly will be provided through hybrid mode, online mode. And idea is to not only train the existing workforce for upskilling them, but also use this component to provide a ecosystem where from here, once we are providing support from DOP, gradually that institute or center will start putting a sustainable supply of the talent to the industry for other roles at the bottom. Move to the next. The areas with the component B is the design R&D, regulatory, manufacturing, quality, testing, engineering, maintenance. And probably we would also like to hear that if there is any other segment which is missing, which should it focus? Move to the next. There are few programs, everyone to note, which are already available and approved by NCBET. I would be happy and interested to note in the current segment that we are talking, whether any of the programs which are available will be of use, or they will be only the new programs which are required to come. Next. As in Department of Pharma, the entire sector of medical device has been segmented as per the product segments into 8 product segments. This particular webinar is focused on consumables and disposables in a medical device. And that is where we have Mayank to cater to. We would be hearing, and probably he will be moderating the session, where we will talk about the first 3 value chain areas: research and development, component manufacturing, and final products manufacturing. That how we can, focus on these areas, provide good programs, curate good programs, which help consumable and disposable segment of medical device. And then what are the needs in the research, what are the needs in manufacturing quality. Next. There are certain skill gaps which are there, but probably I'll just keep it as a cue for the discussion. And I think Mayank can always use these specs as and when he would need while moderating the session. The quality, the skill gap are about report writing, analysis, product testing procedures, and so on. Next. In a manufacturing also, we have series of skill gaps. At least if we talk about top 5: automation, robotics, calibration, machine handling, that means unit operations, good documentation practices around the QMS, which is already implemented, and so on. Even in regulatory, there is a gap, and we understand why the gap is, because there have been recently regulations upgradation, and consistent evolution in regulation is also creating a surge of the gap in the regulatory professionals. And I think the programs in the past curated always need to have a review. And I think it will be good, Mayank, to touch upon this point, that whether how far the program will remain concurrent, what should be the revision period the program should be reviewed. That could also be a guiding factor for academia to follow from your understanding. So the plant maintenance, the clean room, job safety, environment control is something which is very important. Design thinking from the beginning, how to put up the things. Next. Now in the mentoring session, these 2 slides are basically for Mayank and further to industries to coordinate. I'm just putting the cue cards in front of Mayank and other industry experts. For the component A, the couple of questions that academia would like to understand is, Yeah, are there any programs which are really good at the PG level and they are able to support consumable and disposable industry in the research? MTech level I'm talking about. Two, what will be the which program should focus on what? Whether PG diploma program or MTech program, there are two, both are required, only one is required, how to do it. And I think it is a typo error. For consumable and disposables, if the mandatory modules are okay or any other modules are required. We discussed in the implants in the morning because we use the same slide. So Neha couldn't change. Neha, remember, next slides, we probably modify this. Which occupation this should use in the major and minor? Can industry and also one important aspect we missed in the previous session, that is there any way industry can probably nominate or recommend a pool of experts who can be, attached to the academia as an adjunct professor or professor of practice, which can be utilized for practical training. Neha, next. For the component B, few points, Mayank, we would like to seek the input on. That in which department and function the demand are there for freshers. That means if we need to run some short-term program, some crash courses, some diploma program at undergraduate and below, and those programs, in which department they should focus on. Plus, what are the major requirement of upskilling if you talk about institute training in context of consumables and disposables? Then what are training which are being delivered in-house? So we all know that industry has been meeting their upskilling requirement or their fresh skilling requirement through a lot of in-house training. So what are the examples that you can quote that what kind of trainings are being delivered in-house to as a fresh skilling requirement? Probably that can make the part of a program which can run in these institutions. Last two questions is, will industry be willing to support academic institutions for the infrastructure support? Because without that, the program, the short-term program may not be surviving. And if there will be a CSR fund that can be utilized for upgrading the infrastructure if there some institutions come forward, for this. Certainly, these institutions need to be clusters, which we understand to have this, because then only the utilization of the infrastructure can be more optimal. The last is, can industry share the skill-wise volume of demand for upskilling as well as fresh skilling? And again, in the context of consumable and disposable sector. With this, Mayank, I'm putting the entire hat on you as a moderator and as an industry expert from the segment. Probably you can take this to a concluding session, a very good session, which will probably help all the academia with their questions answered. Over to you.
It's a difficult task to with your sector at the beginning. Good afternoon, everyone. Can we start with a brief of the introduction? Who from the industry are there on the call? So that would I'm from the academy are there. So it would be full ISC, DP, yes, she has clearly mentioned IT Kanpur, but a brief round of introduction who from the industry are present on the call.
Hello.
Hi, DP. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Dr. Deep, and I am associated with the IIT Kanpur, as you can see. I'm associated with the SIC component of IIT Kanpur, Startup Innovation and Incubation. So we have various startups in the healthcare field, and I'm part of the Center of Excellence in the MedTech sector. Thank you.
Yeah, I see it. Say your hands. Mr. Iqbal, why don't we start with you?
Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
I'm from the industry, Seguro Life Sciences.
Okay.
Pune.
Welcome.
And,
Welcome, Iqbalji.
and I'm
Your-
ex-Deputy Commissioner, FDA Gujarat.
Good afternoon, Iqbalji. Really glad to see you. I knew you since you were at the Deputy Commissioner role in the past. So really glad to have you here. And I think your contribution along with Mayank will really enable very good programs coming from these institutions.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the industry to be had in this session? Probably not.
Can we have people to come forward and introduce themselves as Mayank is being seeking? So taking the name Arindam ji, if you can just come and quickly and introduce yourself.
I'm
Yes,
I am Arindam Bit from NIT Raipur.
hi, Arindam.
I am working as an associate professor in biomedical engineering department.
Welcome back. Arindam.
Thank you.
Mr. Boya Uday.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. I'm B. Uday. I'm an undergraduate in University of Hyderabad.
Welcome.
So we have Mr. Ravi Richard Baklaji.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Ravi Richard Batra, and I'm associated with Polymedical Limited as a product manager for vascular access.
Hello.
Mr. Sahil Vyas.
Everyone, Sahil this side. I'm heading in commercial HR here at Polymedicure.
Hi, Sahil. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Welcome, Sahil ji.
We can
Thank
hear
you.
Srini. I think Srini is from DOB.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Shekhar.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I am Professor Sithendu Shekhar Ray from Nehu courses as well as PhD in biomedical engineering. I am the HOD of the department, and we want to upgrade all the infrastructure syllabus as per the industry need, so that we can train the human resource as per the industry requirement.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anshul, for setting the context. I think this scheme comes as a very critical juncture when the government, when we have the new government coming in, and the Prime Minister's vision of Viksit Bharat, and the government of India has also set up a very aggressive target of the Indian medical device industry to $3 billion by 2030, which means we have to see exponential growth over the next 5 to 6 years. For that, human resource availability will play a key role in terms of human manufacturing, both manufacturing and R&D innovation, because it's very important that we move up the value chain. That's also a vision Secretary highlighted in yesterday's workshop. It's important and critical how the industry moves up the value chain in terms of both manufacturing and R&D. For that, human resource is a basic premise. That's the main pillar which will build everything together. As Anshul has broadly highlighted the contours of this whole scheme, where we have kind of identified 8 particular broad segments which were divided under the bigger hackathon, which is the partnership with CII. So consumable and disposable is one of the key segments. And Secretary Farmer kind of appreciated the fact that this is the only segment out of the 8 categories where exports have actually outperformed the imports. Whereas we look at other categories such as implants, IVDs, capital equipment, cancer therapy equipment, surgical instruments and equipment, we are very strongly still dependent on imports. So he was appreciative of that fact, and he wanted to make sure that how we can further support the growth of this industry and continue that their exports by support the imports. So from that perspective, from a human resource, for that human resources play a key role because we all have to scale up the operations in order to achieve the government's vision of $50 billion. That means excessive demand for medical devices. There means excessive demand of manufacturing. Scaling up is required. For that, we need a manpower. Where will this manpower come from? It would come from institutions like the primary institutions we have, for example, NIPERS, IITs, NITs, ITIs. And there are different sort of skill sets which are required across manufacturing processes and R&D, right? So how do we in fact fulfill those gaps? Through these courses or through the scheme where we are defining or kind of the flexibility is there with us in terms of designing the courses according to the industry, where these primary academic institutions will play a very key role. So that's the basic premise I want to kind of do an introductory remark on. And I would invite kind of opening remarks from Mr. Iqbal and followed by Sahil. In terms of from a consumable and disposable perspective, what are the first question? What is the key skill gap which you see both from a manufacturing and R&D perspective? What is the key skill gap which you see currently in the availability of manpower which is there? Mr. Sheikh, Mr. Iqbal, we'll start with you first.
Thank you, Mr. Meng. Actually, we don't have any curriculum during the either pharmacy or engineering for manufacturing of medical devices, or neither specialize any. I think only one NIPER, I think Ahmedabad has got some education, except that nowhere there is a medical education. But I think even if an academic by university, if you cannot get the education, it should people are getting the education from the industry. People are using the industry as one type of experience-based education. So we should, I think, better to have that type of education which can spread very fast skill of manufacturing of medical devices.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. Mr. Sahil, your opening thoughts on this?
More or less, I second the input which has been shared. The biggest challenge which we are facing as of now is that industry is not able to absorb the talent right from the colleges or institutions in medical device industry because there is no defined curriculum. So usually people land into the medical device industry after working maybe for a couple of years, get shifted to medical device. So which at times impacts the productivity or output. So if there is going to be a dedicated the course or a paper in some of the institutes, then probably it will help to ramp up the targets which has been shared by the various organizations and medical device industry as a whole.
Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. Can we open up the presentation where we had identified certain engineering areas or specific areas which we think, based on the research which LSSSDC has done, should be part of that whole course structure which is being defined? Can you open and share that slide?
Yeah, I'll do that.
So, Mr. Iqbal, Mr. Sahil, I think both you mentioned those skill sets specifically. I think those are pertaining to very specifically manufacturing. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if you look at, if you want to have something like groundbreaking innovation or a hardcore R&D, right, where we come up with the first of its kind of product in the world. What sort of skill gaps do you see which are there currently lying in the system from a hardcore R&D perspective? Because I think initially what manufacturing, but from an R&D perspective, what are the specific skill sets that you're looking at?
So first thing is that if for the R&D perspective, first he should know the basic available medical devices, then only he can do the further R&D. See, it is my thinking, whatever it is, the other way.
So you're talking about more towards incremental innovation.
Yeah, definitely, because if you are not knowing the catheter, how you can improve it?
Yeah. Just scroll down. So I'll tell them in the meantime till we read those slides. Your point from an R perspective, what are the specific skill sets which you look at while hiring R&D talent for your R&D center?
Medical devices is more or less an engineering items,
Right. So,
except the some coated medical devices or the having the active ingredient in it. Even earlierly when it was having the active ingredient, it is called drug. It is not called medical device. Now we can say it is medical device. See. So first thing, I think the basic knowledge of the medical device manufacturing is required at the level of the either at the graduation level or the bring it to the directly to the industry. See.
yeah, can you, yeah. So these are the specific list of this again. This is a very suggestive list of focus areas where we have seen that as you rightly mentioned, see medical devices is an amalgamation of different themes or areas of sciences, which includes instrumentation, metallurgy, biotechnology, biomechanics, biomedical engineering, right? So on and so forth. So we have tried to kind of come to come together with a list of suggestive areas where these course curriculums or this particular courses should focus on, primarily from a medical technology perspective. And I know, sir, for manufacturing of and or from R&D perspective for consumable disposable, I think molding technology, I think plastic molding is one specific skill set which is required. And also looking at understanding of technical textiles, medical textiles, because a lot of consumables, for example, if you look at surgical gloves, surgical gowns, sutures, they all have their technical textiles as key component, right? So understanding how that nomenclature comes, understandings of chemicals, because a lot of consumables come with certain chemical coatings, right? And from an antibacterial perspective. So understanding of those chemical and mechanical material sciences is kind of very important. So other than that, other skill sets, as you mentioned, right? Engineering is one aspect. Other than what you see on the screen, Sahil, your point as well on this. Any specific other than from a hardcore consumer, as I mentioned, plastic molding is one. Instrumentation, right? That's another, I think, plays a key aspect while we look at from a consumable and disposable point of view, very specific. What are your viewpoints on kind of the areas which are currently you are doing from a focus areas, themes?
Sir, if you accept the basic disposables like needles, syringes, infusion sets, and some other normal like urine bag and all, these are the basic, I think, where low level of engineering is required, low level of technology is required, and these things can be created from the first level of industries, which can have a molding or the injection moldings or the inflating or different type of the sheet manufacturing or sheet welding like of technology. You can manufacture this, but when in which we are working here is in angiography accessories, which are more technical and more the engineering required, which is level of that engineering is not at all any available, or even the person of that level is available. But the personnel are also not available which having the sufficient knowledge, except the experience-based knowledge. Nobody is knowing the manufacturing side of this type of the like catheters, guide wires, see balloons. These things are much more complicated than at the very first stage you can start. Okay, we can start it by part by part, first assembling, then first thing is the packing sterilization. Second thing is the, okay, thank you.
Sahil?
According to me, there is a gap in terms of advanced manufacturing technologies understanding as well as material science. So specifically like 3D printing or robotics, the skill set which should be there to do some advanced level of R&D into medical device, wherein there is a gap in terms of talent. Apart from that, I feel that the regulatory knowledge, specifically global regulatory knowledge, is also equally important for the human resource working in an R&D. Because if they are not aware of those guidelines, specifically FDA or CE mark, then at times it becomes challenging. So the broad understanding around regulatory knowledge is also, I feel, that should be the area which should be addressed.
So, thank you, Sai. And Anshu, just a point on this. There are certain common factors which are kind of coming across even in the implant discussion. One is the material sciences, knowledge of material sciences, right? Regulatory understanding of global regulatory, that is, and of course the Indian system. Then focus on standards and quality procedures, right? And also look at clinical validation, right? Clinical trials, right? Then we are looking at the point on ethical marketing, ethical issues, right? When we talk about undertaking from R&D perspective. So those are certain common themes which are cutting across, which are coming very clearly. That this is actually a basic need of VR. And again, material sciences from a biocompatibility point of view. So these are certain common themes which can be looked at, I think, across, and this would also, I think, come across the different other categories of devices where we have kind of planned certain kind of similar discussions, right? And sir, next question I would like to put across in terms of what is the testing infrastructure gaps which you see pertaining to your products in the country, where we see that certain testing infrastructure needs to be set up. For example, in the morning session on the implants, there was a very specific data that there's a need for a biomechanical testing lab for testing any implant. On the testing infrastructure, what are the key gaps that you foresee in the country where where you can look at there's a provision of where industry can pull in the CSR fund of creation of the infrastructure within academic institutions, and there's a separate DOT scheme for that as well for creating testing infrastructure. What are the key testing gaps which you see where these academic institutions can also be a key role in terms of setting up that infrastructure? Silent. Let's start with you this time. Silent, you're on with your thinking.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, I'll begin. Yes.
So in testing infrastructure, I understand that at times there is a lack of consistent testing standard across different regions as well as per different bodies is one of the area probably wherein we can collectively work. So as of now, this is something which comes in top of my mind.
Okay. But you're saying that infrastructure availability is there for a consumable and disposable perspective. Does that the test again the standards against which the product has to be tested? There is no consistency.
Correct, correct.
Iqbal sir, your points on the testing infrastructure availability in the country.
Well, I understand what from my knowledge is that every medical devices require a specific type of testing.
Right.
It is not necessarily that it is not like a chemical formula that you can test it in a normal laboratory and with a general even. So for the reason, I say that suppose if you go for any specific medical device, it has got its own way of testing. It's
Right.
not like that you measure the length, width, and the texture or anything. It is okay. See, because while saying it is all right, we write down the things. For the needle thickness is this, needle write down it. But a very typical part like the angle of cutting, see, it's only an experience or unless you have got very high technology to measure it. Otherwise, it is usually the practice base, not the written standards. See.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. And again, excuse me. And so, what are the initiatives that you have taken to upskill your existing workforce? In the manufacturing perspective, what are the few initiatives which you would like to share, which you have taken as an
Can I have my opinion?
Absolutely, sir.
Sir, I have employed more than the few dozens, I think more than 100 employees so far in this type of the fields. The most of the employees are, when they are joining the firm, they are hardly knowing anything about the what he has to perform or how he has to perform. See, or he has got a education background. Like even even we have taken one petrochemical engineer in our employed, but he don't know the difference between the LD, HD, HDP, PVCP, and it is only the industry that knows it. What is the difference between the quality of the product? See, it is our poverty of our education system that they don't have a proper education, like or the specific education. I think not the proper, but the specific education is a lacking. See, so only the some university or something which can have a first they see the industry, then they design the curriculum and they start the educating, or the government should provide certain things that like my organization, we can train 4-5 people. See, and because they are the only burden on the company, so people are not taking them. Even fresh graduates, we do take, but we don't take for the clerical and other items, not for the manufacturing directly or the giving them the proper knowledge about the manufacturing or R&D of the medical devices.
So those hands-on training, which is actually mentioned as part of the
Hands-on
curriculum.
training is.
Basically, I think that one, sir, very clearly came out yesterday as well. For example, the manpower or the manpower which we kind of employ in the manufacturing processes, we see that to make them industry ready, the organizations spend about 6 months or a year just to make them industry ready from a basic start point. I think that's a message also which is kind of clearly coming out. And Sahil, your points on what Polymed is doing to upskill its existing workforce, what sort of training is delivered across levels. Your thoughts on what Polymed, on some of the initiatives which Polymed has undertaken aspect. Sahil, again, sorry, you're a speaker.
Can I again give you something?
Yes, sir.
We have a basically our at present medical devices is a most of them is a re-engineering, because if you go through the regulatory of the CDSCO, new devices, scope of new devices or developing a new device is a very tough job according to the regulatory affairs. Other way, and the market acceptance of such device is rare. If you develop a new device, unless it is very promising or very good in the efficacy, nobody use it. People use the traditional mode. It is basically a techno-economic problem because the people use only the traditional devices. Doctor is very much a doctor or physician or the lab technician. All are having the only they have a preset idea to use the traditional device. So to develop the traditional device, it is only a re-engineering. You don't require much R&D.
But sir, I have a point of view there, because see, CMEs and CPTs are a very core to the medtech industry, right? And where we training and skilling of the healthcare workforce, be it at the public healthcare institutions or at the hospital level. That's a very basic core of the medtech industry, right? So if any new product which is developed, because I can say from my team experience, so we started this journey of our implant business, arthroscopy implants in 2019. And I would be very happy to inform sir that in 5 years, we have got global regulatory approvals for this product. And we have got a lot of local acceptance of this product because we created that awareness with hands-on training of healthcare professionals, product evaluation. So that's a very core for a new technology or product to come in, right? So I I would beg to differ in the sense that the acceptability is only there for traditional products. The On the consumer side, the hospitals or the doctors are looking at, for example, robotic surgery, sir. 2 years, if you look at the journey with robotic surgery industry has taken, yeah, I know it's primarily import dependent, but the acceptability of the surgeon, just because of the skills that the medtech industry has imparted on those professionals, there's a lot of acceptance on robotic surgeries, right? That is why has that happened, evaluate or kind of evolved because of the openness of all them to move on to a latest generation product, which is providing a better patient outcome, it is better in terms of safety and efficacy, right? So, but the thing, the acceptance of new innovative products is there in the market. I think there are global examples, and there is an example which I can share from our.
We are also trying to place in the market, which are our own developed product. Mostly you can say it is the first time in the world or first time in India. See, and we are getting some good response, but sustainability on only those products is slightly difficult.
Sahil, coming back on to the point where what initiatives Polymed has taken in upscaling its existing workforce and what sort of trainings have been developed across levels. If you can share some ideas on the initiatives which Polymed has taken.
So typically, two kind of focus area will be there. One will be one was on technical aspect in terms of helping our existing workforce to upskill themselves technically, as well as the second was the behavioral aspect. So we are not doing it for everyone because as of now, considering the employee size which we are having, it is not possible. But we are identifying the hypots within our existing workforce. And based on that evaluation, we provide them various like 6 month long intervention wherein they have been helped to upskill themselves from a managerial aspect, from a team management perspective, from a perspective of managing a project, as well as on a technical side based on their future career path. They have been nominated for some of the training program, or maybe within organization, the expert of various domain will coach them and mentor them. So this is something which we are doing, but that is for a few selected top talent or high pots, not for everyone as of now.
And have you tied up with certain institutes? Because I've seen in certain organizations where they've tied up with certain institutions to upskill their workers across kind of parameters. From a managerial perspective, there's a separate institution. From a technical perspective, they've tied up with certain institutions in the vicinity where they kind of, as you mentioned, 6 months you spend time, upskill yourself, and then come back. So has Polymer tied up with certain institutions?
No, as of now, not, because from last year onwards only we have started this initiative.
Okay.
So probably first year or initially it has been decided that we will try to use the internal capability and internal resource which we are having. Maybe in future we may tie up with some external institutes or agencies, but as of now we are exhausting our internal capability for the same.
Okay. And again, just want to throw this question. I think it's there on the screen. I think some of the points which we have already covered in terms of the training, what's being done, right? Again, from an infrastructure support perspective, is there has been any discussions in terms which you have had where industry is willing to play a proactive role under the CSR fund for setting up or upgrading of infrastructure or for kind of delivering certain courses which are required to address the skill gap. Has there been a discussion internally which you have had amongst the, say, different channels, pockets of, I'll say, channels and modes of manufacturing which exist, clusters of medical device companies which come exist together? Has there been any sort of discussions on those lines within the industry?
As of now, in best of my understanding, answer is no.
Okay, okay, got it. Thanks. And on Anshul, on the last point, the skill-wise volume of demand for upskilling and for stress skilling. Again, as I mentioned yesterday in the panel, again, I think that would very clearly, the industry would be able to support it once the pathway for achieving that $15 billion market is clear, defined by the government. Right now, we don't know what sort of how we are looking at incremental or some kind of exponential growth in demand for medical devices, right? What steps the government is going to take to achieve that target. Once that pathway is defined by the government, then it would be very kind of easy for the industry to share with certain numbers on the demand side what sort of skilled manpower is required across different skill sets, right? Across levels, be it unskilled, semi-skilled, or skilled manpower. I think that would be from a government has to kind of play some role in terms of helping the industry in identifying the demand.
I know this. Yeah, Mike, I know this. The point which I wanted to seek a clarification from probably three of you here, Mayank, Iqbal, and Sahil. Look, as a Department of Pharmaceutical unit, we certainly need to understand a couple of things from the industry very clear so that we also know that where the government schemes should be able to focus on. Like Iqbalji said that there could be a possibility that, yeah, right now we have our experts, we can train and then we can do it. It's a really a welcome approach and I'm thankful to it. Sahilji mentioned it very clearly that they are right now utilizing their internal capabilities to build their hypos. And if I'm not right, Sahil, it certainly has a cost involved. So you have already earmarked a cost that you internally consume utilizing your internal resources, both manpower as well as the equipment, which will be utilized for as a training budget for the particular year. My point is, there is a consistent investment from industry on building the current workforce, which you need as a freshman, or even somebody, if you take it from industry with some experience, obviously you upskill them in a house so that they are utilizable for you. The second part is there is a consistent and continuous effort and investment, which is also being done by industry as on now for in-house development of the hypos and even the other employees. The strategy may differ from Polymedicure to Healthium to any other organization. My point is, if we as an DOP initiative, we are trying to create an ecosystem equipped with the right set of equipment and capabilities to take up this load from industry and give you an ecosystem which is sustainable, which you can utilize for your own benefit, where all these institutions which have been here, they probably will join hands and probably more will join hands. And then probably they would start giving you every solution to every upskilling need, every fresh skilling need, which industry need. And then probably that, okay, my point is focus. Even tomorrow, if I need to commit couple of kind of production capacity, I know the people are right there. Right, Mayank? This is what yesterday we were discussing when in the conference.
Yeah.
So with that, I would also like to know that what size of ecosystem do I need to develop? Okay. Am I talking about if 5,000 people in a year? I'm talking about 10,000 people in a year. I'm talking about 500 people in a year. So in the context of consumable and disposable industries, All three of you represent three different companies into that, and certainly have an understanding about what industry is doing, how industry is moving. What is your ballpark figure, say for an example, if a manufacturing, what could be the possible requirement of fresher skilling? In the quality testing, what could be the possible requirement? In the R&D side, what could be the possible requirement? So that we also know that where we need to put a stop. Look, we are starting, but at the same time, we do not want to get into a, madness that happened a couple of years back with biotechnology. All throughout India, the biotechnology institute has opened and there was no employment. So we need to meet the industry need in terms of the right skill set. Iqbalji very clearly laid out, you made the things very clear कि आज की date में there is nothing that meets the requirement. Accept it, sir. And this is where we are here with a small initiative of Department of Pharma, through which we are trying to put the first few steps and build a sustainable ecosystem. So Sahil, Iqbalji and Mayank, probably your inputs on this will be very important.
Sir, first stage we can have only on the industry specific, the industry where I think for the medical devices also, it is from very large to very small, or the medium scale industries are there. And all have got different requirement of the personnel. See, first thing is that even our regulatory system is so, I think clerical requirements are more than the technology requirements are there for the licensing applications. Now we have got a new website known as National Single Window System. See, we do not have a last 5 years with the CDSCO has developed one website and for the licensing purpose. But it is not even lasted for 5 years. Now we have got a new system. See, so maybe the documentation remains same, but the system itself is also to be required learning. So we may the first person, which are for the regulatory persons, also required as upscaling and training. Second, then we need the personnel for the manufacturing side, and the third one will be requiring for re-engineering or the research and development. So three different type of people we need here.
So Anshu,
it is my perspective.
Just to answer your question, I think the chambers, Anshu, will have to play a key role where they are kind of associated. The membership span is very wide, right? Where they can do that kind of internal discussions amongst their members and look at how the HR demand generation has kind of progressed over the last 3 years, and we put some kind of model in terms of kind of coming in with the demand for the next 3 to 4 years. What is the demand expected? I think the chambers can play a key role in getting to some sort of number on that front to answer your question. I think that's a starting point where we can look at, because as an individual company, they would be diversified across segments. But the chambers can aggregate that where we define certain kind of broad parameters which kind of are common to everyone. And they can kind of then, based on certain models, exponent their demand for the next 5 years or 3 years, based on how the demand, how the progresses last year from an HR perspective. I think that we can look at that perspective as a starting point. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for you to kind of aggregate the demand on the upskilling side as well as reskilling.
Valid point. Sahil, would be really eager to hear from you as well.
So probably I'll echo the input which has been given by Mayank. My recommendation over here would be, see, it will be very subjective and vary from an organization to organization in terms of the talent demand in those aspects, correct? Just for an example, hypothetically, if I tell you, we do have an R&D team of roughly 200 plus employees as of now. Now, how much will be required will be in sync with the overall industry growth, as well as the organization's individual aspiration to grow. Correct. So my suggestion as a starting point would be probably if data is available or otherwise we may try to get it, but then specifically in those various discipline of backend, which is manufacturing or R&D or quality, what is the current employee size in at least those larger players who are there in medical device? If that we can get, and then we need to create a model around that, that what will be the headcount or manpower requirement for next 3 or 5 years based on the growth. And then from there also we need to further bifurcate that whether we will need a fresher or a freshie, or maybe we will require an experienced people. So because as of now, whatever infrastructure which we are trying to create, more or less that we are going to create for a graduation or post graduation or certification level, correct? So from that also, if there will be a 10 requirement, maybe hypothetically next year, probably as an organization, I may accommodate 2 or 3 out of those 10 as a fresher. Maybe 6 or 7 experienced people would be required. So we need to build some model around that to predict or forecast the future requirement of manpower in those disciplines.
I hear you out, Sahil, very clearly. So let me just give you certain inputs. Probably we are talking first time, so you may not have heard me before. Look, as a part of Ministry of Skill Development and also as a unit of Department of Pharma now, we are about to take up in July month, starting a very detailed skill gap exercise where we would be reaching out to you, all of you, one by one, in understanding the current employee size, the growth trajectory that you are taking, and then impact of that growth trajectory to the human capital requirement, both freshmen, experienced, as well as in the training requirement, that what kind of training will be needed. The point two is, I understand that absolutely employee to employee it varies and employer to employer it varies because the growth trajectory will be different. I would also like to, put on a table, and if you have not noted, the scheme is not limiting to graduate and postgraduate programs. The scheme of Department of Pharma is also going to the ITI level as well. So if you're looking for DPharm, ITI, and even the normal graduate to join you in the production side, as the operator and technicians, that is also something which we are talking, and that is under the ambit of the scheme. So please do give your input, knowing that now the ambition of the scheme and the category of the scheme is catering to every piece from operator, technician to your researcher level. And we understand that the limitation of the absorption will be, to a certain percentage only. Everybody will not be able to absorb everything. And that's something which we note. The idea that what I was trying to get, and though three of you have given the idea, and then I'll take it up, build this up, and then in the skill gap report will be much deeper, having deeper understanding, is we really need to start. I've already started some of the work on this front about what is the size of the industry, what is the size of different segment, who is employing where, what's an employment, because this is something that we are very done and dusted for pharmaceutical and the vaccine. These two segments, we have done this part, and we have the data, which is normally referred for a lot of policy decisions by government. We are now getting into the medical device subsector, and then we will get this data as well. I would certainly touch base with all of you, each one of you, along with my team, to support the cause so that we are able to create a sustainable ecosystem which you can utilize in future. And last thing is, I understand that currently you guys are doing it in-house, lot of things. And I also know that as of now, the strategy is always being in-house. But I would like you to be the thought leader and probably take this thought for a food for thought. Is would your organization or should your organization be open to partner with Department of Pharma in this scheme, where you contribute in, creating an ecosystem near to your plant sites, where based on your current skill requirement, that institution can become your training arm. Initially, they will be subsidized and they will be benefited through the incentive scheme of DOP. And then gradually, they will be self-sustaining and they would not need. The only thing that we are looking at is the upgradation of lab. We are not looking at the training fee as of now. We are not talking about you giving them a training fee. That is something where DOP will take care of it. We are talking about anything that you are looking at, that this is my technical skill set which is missing. If there is a possibility and you have a provision of CSR, because most of the company, they may not have the provision based on their profitability. But if you would have a provision of CSR, a portion of a CSR can go as a pilot to that institute. We are not looking at much. So please go with that thought. And that is something that I wanted to put up as the project director of the scheme. Over to you, Mike.
All right, thank you. I think the industry has taken most of the time. Now we would open the forum for the key primary academic institutions which are there on the call. Questions you might have from the industry in terms of what is your expectation from them as a stakeholder in terms of providing courses for development of the courses, and what are the existing courses which are currently which the institution is offering, if you would like to create certain awareness among the industry on the availability of such courses which are being done by our institutions, specifically from a medtech skill gap industry HR requirement. So I would request the institutions to address their queries or questions to either answer the scheme, specific scheme, they might have certain questions, or to the industry in terms of what you guys are currently offering and what sort of intervention you request from the industry for. Deepti, if I take the liberty of highlighting institutions, picking the institutions. So, Deepti, can we start with you first?
Yeah, so we have various programs running in the institute. So we have a Department of Biological Sciences and Bioengineering, and we have an MTech program running. That is a 2-year program. In addition, we have been planning to launch another MTech program, which will be focused on the medical devices, actually, biomedical engineering. And in addition, we have some summer courses being offered at the institute where students get hands-on training on the medical device sector. So they get to do some immersion in the industry and also in the clinic to really understand what the needs are, and then they can work on the problem that is in the most demand. So these are some of the initiatives that are already being undertaken at IIT Kanpur. And we are looking forward to improve these programs and launch further amendments to the program as the requirements from the industry come in. Yeah.
And any specific task which you might have other than the technical inputs from the course curriculum development?
Yeah, so Deepti, just one point which I would like to know from the perspective of IIT Kanpur.
Yes.
You stated that there are certain programs and you're also about to launch, and there are certain summer programs also that you offer on the campus.
Yes.
Can you be more specific that whether these programs that you are right now offering or you plan are focused on the consumable and disposable industry? Because medical devices is a very large segment, and every time we say medical devices, the people are normally lost, that what medical devices are talking about. And that is where in webinars we have scheduled it very specific to the segment. So it would be great for industry also to know if IIT Kanpur summer programs, like for example, if they would like to upskill some of their employees, is there any program which is catering to the area of disposable and consumable?
So right now, it is not sector specific. It is in general medtech sector. So not specific to the consumables and disposables as of now. Yeah.
And if there is a requirement, if industry, because you have heard Mayank very clearly,
Right.
because consumer disposable is one segment of medical device which is progressing the fastest in the
That is
entire medical device sector. You know,
right.
it has surpassed the last year net. It is now next export. So
Right.
the way it is moving forward, would you like to offer some of the programs? Would you like to consult further the industry for offering some of the programs which probably will take care of upskilling and in situ requirement of the industry?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we are looking forward to more suggestions like how we can improve the current programs that can fit the industry requirements. Definitely, yes. But yeah, right now we are
Sure.
focusing more on innovative technologies for the medical device field.
Understood. Understood. May I have Arindam to come in and probably share?
Hello.
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 Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Roy.
Yeah, actually, what the manufacturing of the medical devices and then quality control and the regulatory policies. With its practical aspects, not only theoretical aspects. Now, what is happening as of now in the academia, we are giving mostly some theoretical aspects, but the practical aspects are missing. So, is it possible to have some SWAYAM course or the MOOCs course online so that those practical aspects the faculties also understands as well as the students can also be taught? Because most of the faculties now are getting absorbed in academia. Those are from the PhD background, R&D, but not many faculties are available who did their PhD on the regulatory affairs and all those manufacturing sectors and all. So that part is still lacking in academia. So if we can get some help from industry to develop the practice of those courses, which we can offer to overall.
Mayank, a very good point asked by Mr. Shekhar. Would industry be open to develop their own faculties if they would like to send to industry, for this? Because what I hear from Mr. Shekhar is looking for some online programs. And we all know in industry that online programs are really not helpful when it comes to hands-on. And it is really not so effective. So in case any of the institution would like to, develop their faculties with the industrial skill set, would industry be forthcoming and providing that extension support to these? And probably PMA can play a pivot role in terms of coordinating and managing the entire show, developing them as the professor of practice or even the certified vocational educators.
I think that's very doable. Actually, I think as an industry, we are more than proactively, we are more than happy to contribute to in terms of bringing our expertise to the academic institution level to train and come up with the hands-on experience. So if it comes more from a regulatory standpoint or a quality standpoint or a standards perspective, the industry I think would be more than forthcoming to kind of support the academic institutions in developing or upskilling their existing professor base as well as the students at both levels.
Really, thank you for saying this on behalf of industry. I think Arindam wanted to say something. Arindam, please.
Yes, I am also I have also the same kind of version with Professor Shekhar, that if the industry means maybe it can be done like okay, so we are sending the students for summer school. Now on top of that, if we can have say industry academia summer school kind of thing, where a very say mid-level and high level, particularly the corporate language like the ethical issues, then regulatory affairs, those things can be upgraded to the say the academicians, so that they will also be in a position to well handle the quality control of their laboratories to support the industry in future.
I think Arjun, the industry specific training as part of the internship, I think would be a very critical aspect of how these courses are designed. I think that's a gap because that would again address the hands-on issue of understanding the basic concepts of the regulatory and standards and quality aspect. So that hands-on industry-specific training as part of internship, be it for 3 months, 4 months, I think that would play a very critical role in addressing most of these challenges, both on the demand side as well as on the supply side.
We note, Mayank, this input, and I think as a PMA, I'll advise the team to note it as an action point, as one of the very important and crucial factor for success of the program implementation at every institution. So probably Mayank will come back, we'll touch back with you, and Iqbalji, with respect to what kind of program, what kind of things that can come up specifically for consumables and disposable segment. And then if we can develop some faculty development program where the faculties throughout India then can come, probably spend some 7-10 days with the industry, get the hands on, understand the things, and then probably go back and start delivering it a little better. Iqbalji, hope you would agree to the suggestion made.
फर्स्ट थिंग हमारे यहाँ पे कहते हैं कुएं में होगा तो बाहर पानी आएगा ना. First, we have to train the academicians, either professors or the lecturers of the our prestigious institutes like IIT or others. Only those can deliver to their students. Otherwise, if a student only is given it to some training or like their improvement, it is individually it will go with them. But if we train the academicians, then it will be go to the more students. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Iqbalji, let me brief you on this. So this is a very crucial aspect of every program delivery. And in PMA of DOP, we notified it very clearly. And what we are trying to do over here, the scheme guidelines are, number one, there is a possibility given to every college, every institute, to even hire and engage a adjunct professor, which will be 15 years plus in the industry and can join as a contract basis in the institute like IITs and other, and can deliver the practical part of it and will be considered as a professor of practice. The second part, which we are just talking, that other than that, even other faculties of different departments like biomedical sciences, mechanicals, and other, who are being utilized in delivery of the courses, these faculties, they can be sent from these institutions to the industry, and then they do it. So we'll do it. And this is something which we will take it up. Over to you, Mayank. I think time to conclude the session. So probably you can take it and conclude.
Anshul, I think this has been a very insightful discussion. Thank you everyone for your valuable inputs. As Anshul and his team will collate the primary action points from this discussion, and they'll touch base with us or with you individually to seek specific inputs. Both as one of these action points was on the demand side, on how we can look at from a demand perspective, what are the numbers, or quantify the demand from an absorption perspective. And again, the need for infrastructure development or tie with certain institutions again. And then the demand from the academic side in terms of training the teachers, training the trainers. I think that's another point which has clearly come out. And the other point is on the need for internships or industry specific training as part of the course curriculum. I think these are the few very valid action points which have come up. And I think Anshul and his team has really made note of it. And we would kind of in due course set up certain further discussions if required, and would welcome your further thoughts on it. And thank you for your active contribution. Yeah, Anshul, any final words from your side?
Thank you.
So thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Iqbalji. Everyone over here, who have contributed to this session. I certainly do not want to leave the session in mid, and I would only say that we would have a continued connectivity. The discussion points, we will certainly take more feedback from you at every point. All these institutions who are there with us, some of the institutions who are not available, this entire session is recorded, will go to them. They will be able to hear and get the points that we have said. We would certainly take up those actions that we have just highlighted, and we have noted that for the actionable item. I really thank Iqbalji, Team Polymedicure, and Mayank for being a wonderful mentor for the academia. And thank you, Mayank, for taking this through as a moderator. You have been really awesome as always. Thank you very much. And I hope all these institutions, they have made a note of the requirements and other things that industry has talked about, and you will imbibe that in your curriculum as you're revising them. Thank you very much. Thank you, Iqbalji.
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.